Hello there, Star Wars fans. We have 3 new episodes of Star Wars Resistance to review, but first, I'm Mike, and I want to welcome you to Star Wars Speculation, where we are building a community of creative people who love to share theories and speculation on upcoming Star Wars releases. So join our community today by answering the question of the day at the end of the video. But let's get right into our thoughts on episode 1, The Recruit of Star Wars Resistance. And with me, I have Andy of Rebels and Resistance Transmissions, as well as Nick from Star Wars General. So let's get right into it here. And the first question I have for you guys is, what are your first thoughts and impressions of Kaz during the opening dogfight? Andy, maybe we can start with you.
Yeah, sure. I really liked it. I really liked that first fight. I wasn't too sure about Kaz from the trailers. I thought he might be a bit too Disney XD, sort of hyper all the time, that kind of character. So I wasn't too sure about him before I went into this, but I really liked that whole sequence. And it took me about half an episode to really get into Kaz as a character, but that first sequence between him and Poe, just seeing the New Republic, that's something I always wanted to see on screen, and we've finally seen the New Republic on screen in a dogfight. Yeah, I really liked it, and yeah, sort of the Kaz and Poe kind of team up there was really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Nick? What were your first impressions of Kaz?
Well, at first, when I was watching the episode, I was kind of unsure about Kaz. He was kind of annoying at first, as seen in all the trailers. I thought he was going to be like Ezra from Season 1 from Star Wars Rebels, but it turned out I was wrong, actually. He was actually a great character. He does have great potential to grow an audience throughout each episode, and I think his character is definitely going to be improved throughout the season. When it does come to Kaz, and it's great seeing the New Republic on screen, as Andy mentioned, because we really haven't seen the New Republic on screen before. Kaz is sort of like this wealthy character who gets everything that he wants, so he's basically spoiled all the time, like his dad got him into everything, and I'm really curious to see who his dad is, if he's going to be a spy for the First Order, because we know that some of the senators are part of the First Order in the New Republic, and they do support the First Order, so that's going to be really interesting to see as the series does go along.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just to hop in there, I think Kaz, one of the things that stood out for me and like instantly I liked about Kaz is that he's selfless, right? He tells his buddies, his wingmates, like, you go home, I'll handle this, I'll take care of this. And that for me was something I just related to Ezra in season 4 and where that character gets to. And I thought that, despite the fact that he is a very naive character and we get to see that, he's a good person, right? And we see that right away, and we see that develop in the episodes. But Andy, did you have something else you wanted to say there?
Oh yeah, no, literally, it was just that seeing the New Republic X-Wings as well, like the new X-Wings as the most up-to-date version. That was really cool to see.
I think they're a T-85 or something like that, whereas there was a T-65 in the original trilogy, and then the Resistance has a T-70, something like that. So, yeah, that was...
something like that,
that was really cool. But moving on, you already mentioned this a little bit, Nick, about how Kaz is he has a different type of background. He's sort of this rich kid that has, a very powerful and influential senator father. And, his father, it seems like, has really helped him with a lot of things. And this is something else I really liked about Kaz, is the fact that, he realizes that his father has been helping him out, and that it's time for him to, do things sort of on his own and step away from his father. Definitely a lot of mystery there, but what did you think about that, Andy?
Yeah, I really liked the idea that his father might be, I get the feeling he might be a First Order sympathizer, because we know from Bloodline that there are quite a few senators within the New Republic who are sympathizing with the First Order. I'm wondering if he's one of them, because he doesn't seem to have a high opinion of the Resistance. In fact, I think he calls them extremists. So you'd be really against Kaz sort of joining that group, I think. And yeah, it's definitely a character that's sort of shrouded in mystery at the moment. I like that we've got a connection to the the New Republic Senate through Kaz, because his father's a senator. That kind of gives us an in to actually explore some stories potentially in the future of the New Republic Senate and what's really kind of going on. Because we got Bloodline, which is amazing. It's a great book that kind of goes into all that. But on the screen, I mean, we literally got them being blown up in The Force Awakens, and that was it. So I think Resistance could be a really good place to explore that, like we did in the Clone Wars.
Yeah, I totally agree. It'll be very interesting. I don't think we're going to see too much, but we might, it, like you said, it opens that door. And definitely, I think you could be right there. Both of you mentioned that, he could be a First Order sympathizer. And it's cool that, it's not completely unfamiliar where Leia sort of had a similar background, I suppose, but it's definitely a sharp contrast to, Han and Ezra, those young characters who are sort of the orphans and whatnot. But what, Nick, let's start with you on number 3 here. What did you feel about the pacing of this episode? Like, it just seemed to go so fast.
I mean, for me, it was kind of like hard to get into at first. It was a wee bit slow at the beginning, but at the after when they done all the X-Wing battle with that TIE fighter, basically it just got super fast. And I feel like this episode went fast for people who like fast-paced episodes and want to try and get into this episode, and they did have quite good battles. And I would say that, yes, it's kind of went fast. And they brought in Starkiller Base too early, but me and Andy was talking about this on Twitter, that it's near The Force Awakens, so they have to bring in Starkiller Base a wee bit early on. But I would like to actually see Starkiller Base after episode 4.
Yeah, awesome. Andy, what about you? What did you think about the pacing?
Yeah, I thought the pacing was absolutely fine. I've actually heard some people say it was a bit too slow for them. I sort of compared it to Rebels, like sort of season 1 Rebels, that the pacing was a bit slow. I mean, I had literally no problem with the pacing. There were a few sort of fast bits and there were a few sort of slower bits, like the slow bits with the sort of getting equipment for the ship. The whole kind of pirate sort of, well, not pirate scene, but when they were in that sort of cantina with the gambling and all that sort of stuff and the dark side, that was sort of a bit sort of slower. But then it obviously sped up with the X-Wing battle and the races. And yeah, I just thought it was I had no problem with the pacing myself at all. It has sort of had its slow bits and its fast bits, but it was always interesting to me.
Yeah, I felt it did a really good job of moving Kaz from the New Republic to Colossus Station very swiftly, but it didn't seem too quick.
No,
I thought that was a really good transition. And then, I mean, I talked about this in my prediction. I mean, there's a lot that has to be set up in that opening episode, and I thought they did a pretty good job of introducing us to tons of different characters, setting up smaller conflicts on Colossus. I forget the little purple guy, what his name is, but I had it, but I forget it right now.
Was that the one when he was playing darts with?
Yeah, the guy.
Yeah, no, I don't know who he is. I tried finding out this morning, but I have no idea. I can't remember his name.
I think he says his name in episode 2, but yeah, anyway.
I mean, I know the creatures from the Clone Wars episode, of course, and it's cool that we are getting references from the Clone Wars to the original trilogy and also the prequel trilogy. And did you also notice, at the beginning of the episode, it was kind of like the Force Awakens beginning, how we see that Black Shadow ship just goes over the planet.
Yeah, Well, the species of that guy is actually originally from the Phantom Menace. He was one of the pod racers, like that species was. I think it was an Alina, I think it's called. But yeah, the opening sequence actually reminds me of a scene from The Last Jedi, where you kind of think it's like this big ship, and then in The Last Jedi it ends up like being those droids that are ironing the First Order uniforms. That's what reminds me of this. You think it's like some giant ship coming into view, but it's just like the back of an astromech.
Yeah, no, I thought the beginning was definitely very Star Warsy and reminded me of quite a few moments. Yeah, but yeah. So talking a bit more about Kaz's arrival there to the station, guys. Obviously he's very naive, he's inexperienced, But I thought, they kept it kind of fun with what happened at the cantina and lighthearted. What did you guys think about that? You've mentioned, Andy, that it was a bit slow. We're trying to get to that race. What did you think of some of those other characters?
I thought they were all very interesting. I think we're going to just explore different parts of this station as we go through the season. So I think it's just introducing this cantina. In fact, there's a big kind of gambling aspect to the races, sort of similar to the pod race in the Phantom Menace. And it just kind of introduced us to, these different characters. Obviously, a couple of these show up in later episodes. So yeah, I thought it was fine. It wasn't my favorite part of the episode, but I didn't dislike it by any means.
Yeah. How about you, Nick?
Well, I really liked it because it does show how people do make credits in the galaxy, like people who really don't have enough. It shows the way we view the galaxy and the people on how they actually make credits in the galaxy, of course. And I feel like the cantina scene was alright. It was fast-paced, and we get to meet all these different characters so early on to get to know their names. And, Niku's character at first was kind of like, he's okay, but he actually does get really interesting when he comes along to meet Kaz. And I love it how he just spreads all the different rumors about Kaz in under 5 minutes when Kaz has already been there. So
yeah. Does anyone think that he's the First Order spy? I think he is. So I'm going to call it now. I think it's all an act. I think he's spreading all these rumors about Kaz. He already knows that Kaz is a resistance spy. Okay, this is my wild speculation. And he's spreading all these rumors to try and kind of basically bring Kaz down. that's my outlandish theory.
That would be hilarious, yeah. But let's move on here, guys. I guess, moving on to the actual race, I found it kind of surprising that Kaz did so well in the race. I don't know, for some reason I didn't, he's such a young character and inexperienced, and having such a hard time at Colossus that he was able to shine in the race. What did you guys think about it?
I thought he did surprisingly well for he was obviously a good sort of pilot. They sort of set that up, but yeah, as a racer, I thought it was very funny how he picked what he thought would be the weaker racer. I'm forgetting Tora, isn't it? That's her name, and and it ends up that she's probably one of the best ones, maybe apart from Hype. So that was pretty funny. I really liked Tora's character. We didn't see too much of her, but she sort of she was condescending but kind of sweet at the same time. Sort of it was really nice character, but she also kind of put you down. I really sort of liked her character. But yeah, I thought Kaz did quite well. I liked the sort of Phantom Menace pod race kind of references during this race, and also during the sort of episode. Like I said earlier, we got the Alina species, we got the pit droid in the junk shop, like from Watto's junk shop. His Kaz's ship stalls right at the beginning of the race, just like Anakin's does, and they also got the same voice actor who did the announcers in the Phantom Menace pod race scene for this one. It's the same guy doing the announcing. Yeah,
that's something I didn't catch. Yeah, there's a lot of connections there. What about you, Nick? Did you think we were going to see more of Tora in the opening show?
I mean, I wish we got a wee bit more about Tora's character. I think Tora's character is definitely going to get developed probably in the next couple of episodes, and I really did like it as well how Kaz did choose Tora because he thinks that Tora will be the weakest, but it turns out that she's actually the best pilot out of the rest of the Aces team. But I would actually love to see Kaz pick someone different instead of Tora, maybe like Griff or Hype Faisal, because Hype is the best pilot out of the Aces. So it'll just be someone different, but I really liked how it went, and the race was good.
Yeah, it was definitely, it looks great with that type of animation, that's for sure. That's one thing I found was the animation that sometimes you could see the different aliens, and it was it would sort of take me out of it because it was oh, that's supposed to be a Twi'lek, but you can kind of see it, but it's hard. But those racing scenes and the fight scenes, the dog fights and everything, the animation just looks fantastic, I think, for that.
Yeah, I didn't actually notice any Twi'leks. I'll have to go back and get back and check. But one of the things I was really impressed with in this episode was all the different background aliens. Like even in Rebels and Clone Wars got away with a bit more because there were so many clones. But they reused a lot of the same kind of models. Like even like Minister Tua was famously just repainted as a background character in the first season of Rebels. But here, I never got that feeling that they were reusing models. They obviously were, but there was just so much variety. I was really impressed with that for the first episode of first season, considering they have to make all these new models and assets.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Great point. But Nick, is there anything else you want to say about episode 1 before we move on to episode 2, Triple Dark?
I mean, I just thought episode 1 was brilliant overall, and I really liked how it was slow to introduce the characters. We got to know the characters a little bit better than we did with Rebels in the first season.
Yeah, I guess it's just the one episode, right? It's hard to compare after we've seen so many episodes of the Clone Wars and Rebels. But Andy, anything else you want to add from episode 1? Any standouts or?
No, just overall, I really liked this episode. It was actually, I think this is my favorite premiere season 1 episode that we've got from all the different shows, so Clone Wars, Rebels, and now Resistance. I think this was my favorite one out of all those 3 ones, the Spark of Rebellion and sort of Ambush, I think it was, for Clone Wars. I think this has been my favorite episodes out of those ones, and I wasn't expecting that to happen. I thought this is going to be okay. It's not going to be something I'm going to love though, but I'll probably watch it. But no, I was just super impressed by this episode.
So a big thank you to Andy and Nick for joining me in our review of episode 1. We did also discuss episode 2 and 3. Those will be out later today or tomorrow. Thanks so much. You can find out their information down below in the comments. Let me know what you thought of episode 1. That's the question of the day today. What did you think of episode 1, The Recruit of Star Wars Resistance? And as always, may the Force be with you.